Among the forgotten heroes of the auto industry is the humble minivan, or at least it used to be humble, because the sticker price of this Chrysler Pacifica is shocking even when you consider just how high the average vehicle price is these days. But other than that, this one's approach is pretty straightforward. It's got a good old-fashioned V6 under the hood, all kinds of space inside for your family, and even a few modern amenities here and there, but it's also feeling every part of its 10 years on the market and counting. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. Yes, this thing hit the market as a minivan all the way back in 2016, but I'd say it's aging pretty well, both inside and out. Now I'm talking from a styling perspective, of course. And yeah, there was a facelift about 5 years ago in the most literal sense. The front end was changed, although you can still buy one that looks like it did back in 2016. It's called the Grand Caravan here in Canada. Anyways, the big sell for a minivan, of course, is the space inside, but don't discount the benefit of these sliding doors. Not only do they give you this massive opening that makes it easy to climb in and out, but it means that suddenly independent little one that doesn't want your help getting in and out of the vehicle isn't going to ding the vehicle parked next to you with a hinge door like you have on an SUV. I'm telling you right now, these things can be a lifesaver. And then, of course, you have the benefit of all the space inside, both for people and stuff. The third row, yes, that folds into the floor just like it does with every other minivan on the market, but there is a patented system here that allows the second row seats to do the same. This is the only van on the market that does that, and that means you can make that trip to Costco, buy that garden shed that's on sale, and fit it inside without figuring out what to do with the seats. It really is an amazing feature, and it's probably one of the biggest selling points of the Pacifica. As far as I'm concerned, another big benefit of a minivan like this one is the great seating position and the outward visibility that comes with it. But the nice thing is, the ride height itself is low like a car, and it makes it very easy to kind of step into this thing. You don't have to climb up into it the way you would in an SUV. You just slide in and out, and then you have these massive windows everywhere, and it means you can see everything that's happening around you. And that adds another sense of peace of mind to the drive. Yes, this is a big vehicle, but it doesn't really feel ungainly from behind the wheel. And then being able to keep an eye on just about every inch of it, well, that makes it even more comfortable to drive. Now, the user experience in here, it's about as straightforward as it gets. Kind of a foot in the past and one at least in the present, if not the future, but I like it that way. So you still have a whole bunch of buttons for stuff like climate control. And even though I'm usually not a big fan of rotary gear selectors, this one is in a pretty ideal position here on the dash. It makes it very easy to use, and it's just a short dip of the hand away from the steering wheel. So let's say you're, I don't know, backing out or backing into a parking spot, you can make very quick movements and you don't have to worry about fumbling around for some fancy version of a gear selector instead of something that's fairly straightforward. And then the screen real estate, it's the right amount, 10.1 inches, mounted nice and low on the dash. And the Uconnect interface is still one of the best in the business, in spite of what I experienced when I reviewed the Jeep Wagoneer S, which you can find on our channel. And hey, why not go ahead and click that subscribe button as well? Now, something worth mentioning that may not be a widespread problem, but earlier this week, the built-in navigation, well, it was kind of stuck on a loading screen for a few days, and it's cleared today. But it doesn't really matter, at least not in my opinion, because this thing has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which are wireless connections, and they mean you can access Google Maps or Apple Maps if you're some sort of masochist, or Waze, so you don't even have to worry about this built-in system. Although all things considered, it's not bad. It has live traffic, and you can pinch to zoom, which is something you cannot do with Google Maps, so that is a vote in favor of this integrated system, although I'm going to stick to my Google, especially because it's paired with my Google account. And that means I can add a location on my phone and then pull it up here on the screen. And that is very helpful. And even though those connections are wireless and this thing is a little bit on the older side, Chrysler has stuck some USB-C ports in here, and that is a nice and modern interface so you can charge your phone. You don't need an A to C cable that charges a little bit slower, especially if you have a newer phone. That is something I like to see, but some of the other stuff in here I don't, and some of the stuff that's missing I would love to see, starting with a head-up display. The fact that one isn't available even in the most expensive version of the Pacifica, well, that's just plain weird. So is the fact that, yeah, this thing's got a power tailgate, but it doesn't have height programmability. And that is just so bizarre and a sign of this thing's age, because those are pretty much standard across the industry. Okay, maybe not every trim of every SUV and minivan out there, but you can at least get a height programmable tailgate in pretty much every vehicle these days. The fact that this one doesn't have one is so frustrating, especially if you live in a condo or in a garage where, I don't know, you hang your kids' bikes from the ceiling. You are going to be in trouble because there is no way to stop this thing from opening to its full height. Anyways, there is a plug-in hybrid version of the Pacifica, but this is the plain old V6 powered version. And this one has all-wheel drive, which is a very rare combination, because yes, there's the Honda Odyssey that's powered by a V6, and the Kia Carnival also has a V6, but there's a hybrid version too. The Toyota Sienna, that thing is all-wheel drive, but it's hybrid only. This is the only minivan you can get with an old-fashioned V6 under the hood and four-wheel traction, which adds some peace of mind, but it definitely comes with a literal price. And I don't just mean the upfront cost of this thing, but the fuel consumption, especially around town, because this is a very thirsty vehicle. Now, I do want to compliment this V6. It's smooth, tons of power, tons of confidence with this 9-speed automatic transmission. It is a great powertrain, but it burns an awful lot of gas. Now, officially, this thing is rated to burn 12 liters per 100 kilometers combined. But again, if you are cruising around town, you're going to go through at least a couple liters more, which is more than most three-row SUVs you might be cross-shopping this thing against, like the Hyundai Palisade, the Kia Telluride, the Chevrolet Traverse. And yes, some of those do have turbocharged 4-cylinders these days instead of old-school V6s like this one. And I know that there's a lot of sheet metal and glass to move around here, but regardless, this thing is thirsty, and obviously the all-wheel drive, well, that's not helping matters either. And just for the sake of comparison, if you take a look at that Toyota Sienna that's hybrid only, it's going to go through about half as much gas as this thing. Now, elephant in the room, those are very hard to come by on the new market. You're looking at about a 2-year wait across Canada to get your hands on a brand new Sienna, whereas you could probably walk into just about any Chrysler dealership and pick one of these up today. So that, again, is another vote in favor of the Pacifica. But there are those shortcomings, and some of them are just kind of weird, like the fact that there's no auto vehicle hold, but there is ignition stop start. So when you come up to a red light, the engine will shut down, but you have to keep the brake applied. You have to have your foot on the brake, which just about every other vehicle out there, including that Sienna, has an auto vehicle hold function, so you can give your foot a break. And I know lots of people that could benefit from a system like that. So the fact that that is just another thing missing from this Pacifica is a big problem. Now, something else that's a little bit disappointing, the ride quality. And it's not that it's especially punishing, but it's definitely stiffer than the Sienna or even the Carnival. And I'm talking about broken pavement, pressure cracks, because yeah, rolling hills, totally fine. But when you're looking at actual rough roads, that's where you're going to notice the stiffness of this suspension. And now I hope you're sitting down for the talk about price, because this thing ain't cheap. Now, if you want a Chrysler minivan, you can get that Grand Caravan that starts right around 50 grand before tax here in Canada. And yeah, there are going to be some options, but it's not bad. And there's a good selection of features, advanced safety stuff, as well as creature comforts like power sliding doors, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, this 10-inch screen, all of that good stuff. But if you want this Pacifica, and specifically if you want all-wheel drive, you are going to have to pay big bucks. Now, if you want extra traction, you're looking at about 61,000 bucks, and that's $5,000 more than the cheapest Pacifica. And then there's this limited version that's 65 and a half grand or so, which again is 5 grand more than the same trim without all-wheel drive. This one, it has a whole bunch of extras, and that means it's 75,000 bucks or so before tax. And there's still a trim on top of that, the Pinnacle, that's like 80 grand. I just cannot believe how expensive this thing is. And the other problem is it's missing some features that, yeah, maybe aren't commonplace in a minivan, but you'd probably expect at that price point, like massaging seats. That would really help to set this thing apart, but you just can't get them here at all. Now, yes, like I said, advanced safety features, heated and ventilated front seats in this one I'm driving. You can even get a 19 speaker stereo in that top trim. I'm not trying to nitpick, but I'm telling you right now, for the money that Chrysler is charging for this thing, it's all just a bit disappointing. To recap, I like the Pacifica's styling and use of space as well as its simple interface. I don't like how expensive or inefficient it is, or the features it's missing for the money. Look, I know Chrysler is the kind of brand that prices its vehicles in a way that leaves lots of room for incentives. So by the time you're watching this, you might find a nice and attractive price tag that's thousands less than the numbers I mentioned. But you could just as easily find yourself paying full pop for a Pacifica that sure has some modern touches, but is showing its age in more ways than one. But then again, if it's the practicality of a minivan you're after, there's nothing else like it.